Hello there. Let's continue with our second topic, create a new project. Uh, so before I begin, I need to talk about some basic background about the PLC input output. Right? Based on the PLC I/O packaging, we can uh, have two broad category of PLC. One is called fixed I/O or called embedded I/O PLC. The other type is called modular. All right, I will explain that in details. All right, then we will talk about the other software called RSLinx. So that's a browsing software to get information on the PLC from the network. So most important information you need to know about the PLC before you create a new project is the firmware version. And also, if it's a modular PLC, you need to know the slot number and also other informations. All right, I'll explain that in details. I will finish this video with a Studio 5000 demo. All right. So this is the PLC controller you will see in the lab room B1028. All right. So that's the category of fixed I/O or called embedded I/O. With this type of PLC, um, there's one big package, right? You can see here, there's a big package, and within this package, it contains the PLC processor or PLC controller, right? And also input output and also power supply. So everything you have with the PLC is pre-made, packaged into one big box, right? Some people even call that a brick, right? So you can see that's a illustration of this type of PLC. All right, let's look at the picture, right? So if you look at the, let me, if I can zoom in, yeah, let me zoom in here. So you can see here, this is the controller on the uh, on the trainers in B1028. All right, so this is a power supply. All right, power supply. You go in and then you separate that into different part of the packaging, and that's from here on the background. Probably this is the door. There you have the Ethernet cable on here, and also you can see here you have this. It's I couldn't see details. I figured this will be the input module, right? And this will be the output module, digital, right? Then over here you have other type of output. One of them is the quick counter, right? So those are details we don't need to worry about. But what I want to know is that you can see here everything is uh, built within this one big package. Right, so that's the first type of the PLC called embedded or fixed I/O. Right. Then let's look at the second category. Second category called modular. So from the name, you can see here, right? So you have a configurable they call chassis. All right, so that's the term they use called chassis. Basically, you have uh, uh, a circuit board on the back. It's called the backplane, and called hardware assembly if you want. All right, so depends on the manufacturer. If you go into Siemens, they may call different term. I think they call anyway, I forgot. That's a different name, right? But you know that you can see here you have a different compartments, right? Within this configurable PLC, you can have different slot, different module to plug in on different locations, right? So there's normally first one will be a big power supply, and then on the back, that's the communication backplane. Then you can plug in on different compartment they call slot numbers on there. Okay, so let's look at the pictures in the B1024. All right, so that's a different uh, different lab room, but you can see from this trainer there are different devices connected together, right? So first you can see on the back, this is the PLC chassis, it's modular, right? So that has I have a big picture on here, right? So that's the one that will we can have a look on here. So first one, you can see that's a power supply, right? Then after that, this is the PLC, the real PLC controller on here, right? Processor, or if you call that. And remember, I mentioned the selector switch on the PLC controller, right here. You can see that uh, right here, right? So that's the key switch, and then you have an Ethernet cable plugging on here. And then after that, you have another one slot, the other slot, the other slot. This one is just a empty cover, right? This is a digital input module. And then over here, you can even have a empty slot. On the back, this black part is a connector, right? So that's where the module can slide in and connect to the backplane, right? So that is the PLC uh, within Beacon 24, right? So that's a modular PLC. So you can see here, this is the Ethernet uh, that is that a networking device you can plug in all the cable to, because within this trainer, not only you have a PLC on the network, you also have, this is the HMI, the panel. And if you notice on the cable, you can see here, there's a blue cable here. That's the Ethernet cable, and going around, then plug in here. And PLC also plug into here, right? You can call router or switch or hub, right? Then also on this trainer, you can see also bottom here, you have two motion drive servo controller. They are also on the Ethernet, right? So they all connected into this device network, uh, Ethernet IP network, right? So this is the second type, right? So that's what we will look at it later on, right? And the other thing, second part I want to talk about is the software called RSLinx. So RSLinx is a browser, right? Like the Google Chrome, the Firefox, or any like a internet browser. You use RSLinx to browse PLC information, right? Within RSLinx, you will have a window called RSWho. That's the term Rockwell used for that function, right? So you can see, I want you to focus on this picture, right? So this is what you see from the RSLinx browser, right? What you see on here is, uh, let me go back to one more slide. All right, so you can see here. So remember I talked about the hardwares within this trainer, right? So we have a PLC, we have HMI, we have a servo controller, right? They all connected to the Ethernet, right? So now let's look at from the RSLinx. All right, so you can see here they all reflected on the RSLinx RSWho window, right? So from over here, that icon indicate it's your computer workstation on there, right? So from this computer, you get on the network, right? So this is your first layer of network. So this is another Ethernet driver. So we don't use this one. So we're using the Ethernet. So Ethernet IP, that's the driver's name. So once we go on this driver, we go on to second layer. On the second layer, you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 devices on the network, right? Those two are the server drives, right? They have their own IP address, all right? And then followed by that, you have a PLC controller. Right. Remember we talked about PLC controller on the back plane, right? So underneath there, you see the back plane. Then on slot 00, it's the first slot, and slot 03, which is number 4, right? Number 4 module, let's start from 0. right? And the first one is the PLC controller. Over here, you can look at the catalog number, right? So over here is just the current program name running on the PLC controller. And then on the last module, you have the input, I input, binary input, 16 channel on there. That's the module. And then the very last one is, you can see from the picture, the icon, that's the panel, HMI panel, right? So you can see from the RSLinx, you can have the whole structure of the PLC system. Look into that. All right. So uh, I'm gonna zoom out. All right, zoom out so we can look at the whole picture. This part is talking about remote. That's the other thing. We'll talk about that later. We don't want to cover this from this video, right? So basically, you can see here, right? Remember, this is the slot 00 PLC controller. Then this is slot 01, which is empty. Slot 02 also empty. It's just a cover on here. And slot 03 is the input module, right? So they're all reflected by the RSLinx, right? Of course, you can also right-click the module to look at the detailed information. For example, the firmware version, right? So we all use version 32. So I just skip that part, right? We'll look at the next one. So I'm gonna do the demo with all the PLC controllers in the lab. We have two of them. One is fixed IO. I already got the catalog number, and the other is modular IO. That's the catalog number. Then I will demonstrate the emulator because that's what I have on my laptop. Right. So first, when you create a new project, you have to give a name, right? So over here, when you name the project, here is I got the picture from the menu, right? Rockwell menu. Somehow it's okay. Yeah, on here. So notice here it says the rules for tag name, all right? So I'll get my pencil on here. But the same rule will apply for the project name, right? So whenever you create name in Ars Logic 5000 or Studio 5000, you have to follow these rules, right? Actually, they are pretty common rules with the programming area. So if you're familiar with maybe other programming languages, for example, Java, C++, or some other even embedded uh, language, there are some certain rules about the name, right? So over here is the PLC's rule, right? Some of them are overlapped with other programming language. So only alphabetic characters, right? A to Z, capital or lowercase, and numbers and underscore allowed. Only these three category. Regarding this, you can see we can jump to the last one. The name is not case sensitive. All right, so that means capital or lowercase, they are the same, but you are encouraged to create a name with the capital or lowercase, make it easier. For example, you can create a tag name, for example, uh, my capital M, my tag, something like that with capital T. So in this way, you separate two words, uh, or you can use the underscore. Right? So for example, if you prefer all lowercase, you can use all lowercase, underscore, and tag. So in this way, you can have uh, two words separate, but in the name, very easy for people to read. Right? So that's one suggestion on that. The other rule is that must start with the letters, right? Not not numbers, right? You can start with underscore. So that means this underscore tag one. It's okay. Sorry about that writing. All right, so clear out. I think I can get the less. All right. So for example, if you call one tag, that's not good. That's illegal. But if you underscore one tag, that's legal, because you can start with underscore, but you cannot start with the numbers. This is not good, right? So 40 characters, right? So that's obvious. You don't want to have the name too long, all right? So that's no consecutive or trailing underscores, right? Underscore is really some special case. So that means this is not good, this is good, but if you create a tag name, for example, uh, underscore underscore one tag, that's not good. You have two of them called consecutive, right, side by side, that's not good. Or if you create uh, some tag, then you can have the underscore at the end, but oh no, I don't think you can do that. They said no trailing, right? That means you cannot have the underscore at the last one. So that means you can, that's what I'm saying over here. You cannot have those two, right? This one is wrong because uh, you have two together. That's wrong. This one is wrong because you have a trailing, right? So that's wrong. Okay. Um, that's a project name. All right. So then let me start with demo on here. So first one is you can see this is the start page, right? The loading page on the Studio 5000. So we're gonna go, let's create a new project. So once you create a new project, you can also later on when you open, you can open existing project from here, or uh, you will have the name showing up underneath here called recent projects, right? So that's what you can open the existing, right? So first time you choose new project. So with new project window open, let me move on the side. All right. So you can see here, they ask you first underneath logics, right? So that's for the HMI, we'll talk about later, right? So you need to specify the catalog numbers for the PLC. So 1768 L24. So those you can get from the, like I demoed from the RSLinx, or you can check on the label, physical label on the module. So 1769 L24 and ER, and that's this one. Q represent output, B is the binary, fast counter. I think that's what they mean by that. So you need to highlight this. This is the catalog number, right? So you can create into, I want to save into this demo folder, right? So desktop, I want to create into this folder. Let me just name that as, let me call fixed, right? Because it's fixed IO, right? So let me call this name just on here and click next. Revision is the version, firmware version. We already talked about that, 32. Maybe there are different ones, but in our case, in the lab, it's 32. So once you click finish, the software will start to run, create the configuration of the project. Later on, we can open up. All right, so it's still running. All right, so let's just wait. So what I want to pay attention is that because this is a fixed I/O, right? So once you select this type of controller, the software automatically know the input output information, so you don't need to worry about this. You don't have to set it up, right? So I'm going to show you on that. So this is a fairly easy setup with the fixed I/O. All right? Depends on the situation, your application, you might choose different type of PLC controller, right? So with a small system, you may want to choose this type of PLC controller. So this is what I'm trying to show you on here with the fixed I/O. If you highlight here, right, you can see that's the information. If we scroll down on here, all right, let me zoom in the window. Maybe you can have a better look on here. Okay, so uh, underneath the controller organizer, right, so you can see the I/O configuration. So this is the PLC controller. You can see here embedded I/O. So you have embedded discrete I/O number 1, number 2, number 3. So so the controller, the software knows you have all those modules configured into your package, right? Remember that's a one big package, and so they are automatically set those input-output modules. And in the same time, if you click the controller tag, you see here automatically they generate the output tags, right? So you can see here slot 3, slot 1, slot 2, right? So they knows, right? Software knows what exactly is this type of PLC controller. Regarding the tags, there's another video. I'm gonna talk about details. All right. So over here, I just want to save as, choose a different name, and this time I'm gonna create a different file called Modular. All right. So I'm going to try a different type. Right, so I saved the fixed IO, then I create another file called modular IO. So this time I can remember here there's a, controller property, so you can open up. Right, the other way to open this is to remember I mentioned the menu. You go to edit. You can also access to this pop-up, and then you can see the current setup is this. That's the fixed IO. So for example, if I gonna change to the separate different modular IO, I need to find the module name first, right? Remember on the background, we can see here, that's the one we use in the lab, 1756 L81E. So that's what I'm going to change to, all right? So click this button. I want to change this into the 1756. So you can scroll down, 1756 L81, L81E. So that's the one we're going to use in BTN24, which is the modular PLC version, software version 32. Click OK. So they gave you warning, just acknowledge it, and then they will do the work uh, on there. Then it's better also change to this. All right, click OK. Close that. Okay, so now you can see the difference on the PLC. You can see right now on here, underneath the I/O configuration, you only have a controller. Because with modular, you have freedom to connect to different modules, right? You can decide where do you want to connect and connect to what module, right? Remember in the lab, we have the slot number 3 has the input module, right? So with that, you can configure here. There's some actual work for you to do with modular PLC. It has a flexibility, but it requires you to do some actual work. So in the same time, I ask you to look at here, controller tags, nothing show up here. Before we have all the input output tags from the fixed IO, right? But now once we switch to the modular PLC, they don't exist anymore, right? So now let's start to add module, right? Remember, you can do that, right? So remember, I'll drag this window. Uh, I couldn't remember. That's just 1756 IB something that IB 16D. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so you can see there, that's the catalog number for our input. Right, so we can choose this, create, and then you can see here the revision and everything on here, right? So you can give a name on the module, for example, called my. You can give any legal name, right? My input. Click OK, and yeah, I forgot. Did that ask slot number, or maybe do it anyway? We can change it later, right? No, not this one. So cancel that. So we already finished, right? So we can close. You can see here. Yeah. So you can see here, I must miss that spot. You can see here, that's a new module. My input I created, but it's a wrong slot number, right? Slot number should be 03, remember, on the module, but I can change that, right? Right click, property. So you have this window open up again, and let me make the window bigger. Okay. Oh, why would I want to do that? Okay, over here. That's the part I missed, right? So change the slot number to 3. I need to click OK. So this time, go back here. All right, so once you create the module, the tag will automatically create for you. Again, there's another separate video talk about the IO tag. I don't want to go into detail on here, right? So this is the second type, second file I create. Now I want to create another one, save as. You can see here, I already have fixed modular, right? So I can create emulate, emulate another file, all right? So with this one, I'm gonna to change the controller type again. So just show you here. So for this one, I'm gonna change the type and then scroll down to the bottom and okay, I think, yeah, oh yeah, I remember. This is a bug, I think. This is a bug with the Studio 5000. Remember, this is still a very new software. Unless you don't have access to the emulator, right? So if you want to create an emulator project, uh, you have to create from scratch. So you cannot do that, right? Later on, I'm going to show that, all right? So it's not my fault, all right? It's the Rockwell's fault. I think they forgot to add the emulator on the list, right? So if you want to create an emulator project, you have to create from scratch, all right? So the other thing I wanted to talk about is that there's a common mistake, all right? So if I just minimize that, the project backup files, all right? So this is something will cause lots of troubles with the beginner. So you can see here, right? If you open this folder, you can see I have three of them. That one doesn't, that's a, okay, let me reopen the previous one. Right, reopen that, or maybe just shut it down. Let's see if you can look at the start page. All right, so that's just, let me just start the studio. All right, let me start studio. So in this way, you can see how do you open existing. You can see here, right? So they are pop up existing project. Then look at my desktop and going to demo, you have all this show up. All right, so let's look at the modular one. So that's one file. So I want to look at the file name. All right, so right now you have three uh, mod, project file, right? Once I open it, the software will automatically generate backup file for you, right? So that is a good feature, but if you don't understand what's going on, that could cause trouble for you program, for your program, all right? So that's what I see very common in the lab. So when you open this, for example, you are trying to program something on this. Let's just say, just example, all right? So you don't have to understand this. I add something, right? So then I save. All right. When I save, notice on the background, you can see here. Notice on the background, you can see here, modular PLC, it adds something that's the source file, the original file. Then once I click save, right, the software automatically create a BAK file, backup file. It adds some other names on there, right? Probably your username, right? So on that. So this is not your most recent file, right? This is system automatically generate because we don't have this before, right? That backup file just save the old file. Then I'll show you over here. If I add another instruction and then click save, over here will automatically generate another backup. Yes, you can see here 000 001. That's another one. All right. So they are the backup files. The most current one is here. Right. Every time that you save, you generate a version of backup file. Right. So this is a good feature for the software. But if you don't know about that, when you save the file or open this with the backup file, you didn't get the most recent file. Right. So I'll show you over here. I think I remember this with tools options. And if you go to the, yeah, you can see here, right here, enable automatic project backup. Number of backups, 3. So the default is 3 backup files, right? So for example, I can show you that, click OK, and then create another one, and then save again. You create another one, right? 3 backup. And then if you add another run on here, when you save, they create another one, but it's rolling, right? The 00 disappeared, right? You have 1, 2, 3 on here. So I just want you to realize that, all right? So if you prefer, you can even disable that, right? I don't know if you want to do that. If you check off this box, that will disappear without any backup automatically, right? So you need to understand this feature. And when you need to backup your file, you don't want backup the wrong file, right? The one without BAK is your most recent file, right? I think I can finish this demo now.